In the chat room before the show, people were asking me how everything went at Menlo Park Mall on Saturday. Let me start off by saying this. General Manager Mark Chernoff and Program Director Eric Spitz are two of the biggest fucking assholes to have ever roamed this earth. And Gelby, if you happen to be listening, please don't worry about them hearing it. I don't care if they hear it. They can listen to this over and over as far as I'm concerned, because they're two of the biggest fucking morons who have ever roamed this planet. Now, let me just set this whole thing up for you. This is good. This is one of my this is going to be an all-time favorite for me. I'm telling this story. Obviously, you can tell by my attitude and my behavior, I sound like a sore loser right now because I didn't get to the second round of the tryouts. That's number one. But let me just give you a little bit of a setup about how we were told this should work and how disastrous it truly was, and what a joke of a setup this entire fiasco was for somebody like me who went in expecting to be able to breeze through this and having all sorts of difficulties because of the system they had set up. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The system got me to a point where I wasn't myself and I couldn't function properly because the whole thing was just so unrealistic. First of all, Friday afternoon, Mike Francesa from the afternoon show, who most of you probably know about, says, well, you're probably going to want to get there about 6:30 in the morning if you really want to get heard, because last year they turned away hundreds of people. Mistake number one. I didn't sleep at all Friday night going into Saturday because I figured, what the hell? If I'm gonna go to bed at 3:30 and get up at 6:30, what's the point? That sleep isn't going to do any good whatsoever for me. So I just stayed up, went and got coffee, and I got to the mall at about 6:45. When I arrived, there were only 13 people ahead of me. And I thought, oh, that's good. At least I'm going to be heard this year, unlike last year where I didn't even get to be heard because it was so damn crowded. By the end of the day, at least when I left on the line, there were no more than 65 people, which means that I would have to equate this to be 1/4 of the full amount of people who showed up last year, because more people got turned away than got heard for this contest, okay? So there I am about 6:45 in the morning for a 10 o'clock audition. Luckily, there were some great people around me. I got to meet a whole bunch of people who do internet shows, and we exchanged ideas and exchanged guests, people who they could get or who I could get, so we're going to have some movement around there. But for 3 hours and 15 minutes, I basically stood there. And I'm going to tell you this. When you stand in the same spot for 3.5 hours and don't move because you can't get out of line, it sucks. It is painful. It is actually like it starts to drag on your muscles, and you get tired and your legs get heavy. So, for 3 hours and 15 minutes, I stand there with these guys. We're having a good time. We're making fun of everybody. We're just having a good old time. And finally, it comes time about 10 minutes after 10 to get screened for the first part. What they do is they pull you aside. They ask you why you want to do this. They ask you what teams you like, what sports teams you like. So I figured, I'm going to be honest, obviously. What they said they did last year was they asked you what your favorite teams were, and they asked you trivia questions about your favorite teams. So I get up to the guy and I said, the Mets, the Devils, the Giants, and the Nets. So what does he do? He asks questions about the Yankees, the Rangers, the Knickerbockers, and the Jets, which is just typical. I should have told them those were my teams, because then I would have got questions I certainly knew. But I say I got about 75% of the questions correct, but I got stumbled on. Let me see. What was the one question that I couldn't get? Two of the three pitchers from the New York Yankees who had 15 or more wins in the year 2006. I wasn't paying a bit of attention to the Yankees in 2006. The answer was Chen-Ming Wang, Randy Johnson, and somebody else. I don't know who the hell it was. It might have been Mike Mussina, whatever. So I finally get past the screening point, and the guy says, you seem like you know your stuff. I'm going to put you on. You'll be up there in a couple of minutes. They take your picture. and they give you this stupid little name tag to put around your neck so they can identify you on the video. And there's two guys ahead of me that have to go. There are certain things and certain parts of this whole process that I started to realize right off the top were just awful. It was worse than speaking in a church. The reverberation from the microphones, it's a 3-story mall, and the reverb from the microphones was intolerable. You almost needed to have earplugs because it just echoed, everything echoed back for like a second. And so you just kept hearing what they were saying, and you would hear it over and over, and it just kept going. And number two, and this is the point, well, no, because more number 3 is the biggest point. Number 2 point is they made the audition so fucking unrealistic, it's not even funny. For 2 years, I have sat at this very desk and have conducted a show here in front of a microphone or with a headset on my head, sitting down at a desk. Now, if people were gathered around me here in the front of me while I was doing this, I'd have no problem doing this at all. But for some reason, everybody who auditions for this contest has to stand up at a microphone stand and do their monologue standing up with the microphone in your hand. So I've never done that before. I've never stood up while doing a show other than in the Shovio Studios, but you know, you get to at least lean on the desk at the Shovio Studios if you're standing up and doing it. So I have never done, other than a couple of irregular shows, standing up. I've always been sitting down at a desk in a very comfortable position. And mind you, I have spoken on stages in front of 14,000 people before, so I don't have an issue with getting up there. But when you're used to doing something a certain way, and then they tell you you got to stand up and do this, it's absurd. It's like saying, you know, we're gonna make you take your driving test standing up in the Pope Mobile. You know, I mean, you wouldn't do it that way, or we're gonna make you do your dance underwater. Like, why would you do that? You just wouldn't do that. You put the person in the scenario that they were used to or they're going to be in when they win or if they win the contest. So instead, I'm standing up there like a buffoon, having stood online for 3.5 hours, tired, having to go to the bathroom, and the acoustics like worse than St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now, number 3. I can say probably with some certainty, or certitude, as our buddy Anthony Weiner says all the time now, that most people didn't realize that 2 of the judges were interns and the other 2 judges were the executive vice president and general manager of the radio station and the program director. Now, last year, these 2, Spitz and Chernoff, didn't get to the tryouts until the 4th round. In the first couple of rounds last year, it was some personalities from the program, some producers, and some interns. This time, they put the number 1 and the number 2 person in charge of the radio station and 2 interns at that table right in front of me. And here's where I had a disadvantage. I knew who they were, and they knew who I was. Because we've met, we've chatted, we've emailed before, we've shaken hands, we've been in the same room numerous times, and yet, here they were judging, and they did not make eye contact. When anybody speaks in a public forum, you know very well that the people you're speaking to, you are supposed to make eye contact with. And for some reason, they kept putting their heads down as if they were sleeping and not having somebody up there speaking to them, which was the point of the audition, that you tell them how you feel about a certain subject, and they listen and judge you on it. So, I finally get to the microphone, realizing that all these things that I was certainly not prepared for are piled up against me. I'm in the middle of my monologue, which, now, this is what really gets me. And this is where Chernoff and Spitz are stupid little coward bastards, and they should have known better than this. I'm giving my monologue, and we were told that the monologues should be 2 minutes long. Not that long in the greater scheme of things when you consider I've already been talking for 12 straight minutes right here. Now, the guy from the promotions department says to all of the contestants, if you have to go over 2 minutes, don't stop yourself. Continue so that you don't end midstream or with an incomplete monologue. Your best bet is to just continue to go over and finish as quickly as you can. So I'm in the middle of what you guys heard on Friday, of talking about Gary Carter's cancer. And then I turn to say, which brings up a bone of contention, and that is that Gary Carter's number has not yet been retired by the... They cut the microphone in the middle of the fucking monologue. Eric Spitz cut the fucking microphone in the middle of my monologue. There were kids who got up there, who were 17 or 18 or 19 years old, who spoke for 30 seconds because they didn't know what the hell to say. And I'm in the middle of a passionate monologue, and that son of a bitch cut my microphone after they said that if we needed to go over the 2 minutes, we should go over the 2 minutes. So right at that moment, as the microphone cut off, I walked off the stage, and I knew it right there. I was done. I knew it right there. Because everybody who gives a monologue and who wins and goes on to the second round, they put a video up on WFAN.com of the monologue. Why would they put up a monologue that cuts off with, and that's a bone of contention, the Mets should... It would have been stupid of them to put that up on the website. So right at that very moment, because I was not able to get my thoughts out in exactly 2 minutes, when mostly everybody else couldn't say what they wanted to say in 30 seconds, these little teeny boppers from Rutgers and from all these other shows. No, see, they didn't cut anyone else off before me because nobody got to 2 minutes. They were all done. The kid who went 2 before me went 32 seconds. No, I'm not hating on Rutgers, but that's where most of the people were from that were ahead of me, because there was a whole group of them from Rutgers. So, I mean, they didn't cut anybody else before me because none of them got to even to do 2 minutes. Which was what people had said. You know, for somebody who's not used to doing this, getting 2 minutes is like 100 hours for other people. So right away, I mean, it's just remarkable. It was just remarkable to know that 13 people went before me, and not a single one of them hit 2 minutes. And yet, that motherfucker cut my microphone off because I was going to go over 2 minutes. Another thing I can tell you is that not a single person who went before me made it to the next round. So I don't think any of those Rutgers kids, there may have been other ones that were behind me too, but I was very, very close to the front of the line. So here's what this all comes down to. I don't want to come across like I am a little bitch or a sore loser. I understand that at that point in time, no matter what happened, my monologue was terrible because it was 50% complete. But don't tell the people that you can go on before 2 minutes and then just cut the microphone off right in the mid-sentence as it hits 2 minutes on the clock. Because believe me, I was very, very, very cognizant of what was going on at that point in time. I knew exactly what was going on. I knew that there were 2 minutes on the clock, and I was watching it too. But when I wasn't done, I continued. I could have just cut it off like the rest of them, or just made absolutely no sense, but I wanted to continue because I was told I could. And so this also comes down to this. WFAN, whatever, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if he ever listens to it, I know Spitz has listened to some of my work, you suck. And so does Chernoff. The two of you are enormous buffoons who should not have been there in the first round to begin with. You don't put the top judges in the beginning if that's the way you're going to do it. If you're going to rotate judges, they go to the end, you morons. And WFAN is no longer the official sports radio station of this program. It is WEPN 1050 ESPN, of course. I have to make that note.